It didn't begin with a fight. It began with silence. The kind of silence that grows inside your house like mold. At first, you don't notice it. Then one day, it's on the walls, in your lungs, between your hands when you reach for your wife, and she barely flinches. That's how it was with Priscilla. And I'll never forget the day she looked at me. Not like a man, not even like a stranger, but like a burden. I've always been a simple guy. My name is Renato Almeida. I'm 39 years old, born and raised in Conagem, right next to Belo Horizonte. I work as an electronics technician, mostly in residential maintenance and some CCTV installations. I get up early, I wear my work uniform with pride, and I've provided for my family since the day I married her. We met at a bus stop, of all places. She was studying nursing at the time. I had just gotten my first job fixing alarm systems. She had this kind of laugh that made people turn around. Confident. Beautiful. She wasn't like the other girls around here. She had drive. That's what pulled me in. But over time, after our daughter Lorena was born, she slowly stopped working. Said she wanted to focus on the baby. I respected that. Never pressured her to go back. I worked harder, took extra jobs on weekends, sometimes driving as far as Betim or Ibarite just to make sure the bills were covered and the fridge was full. And I never complained. I did it for love. But lately love felt like a one-way street where I was the only one still walking. It started small. She stopped greeting me when I came home. No hug, no smile, just a glance from the couch while she scrolled on her phone. She used to light up when I walked in. Now it was like I was a noise she had to tolerate. At night, she stopped lying next to me in bed, said she was putting Lorena to sleep, and just stayed there. Every night. For weeks. I tried to ignore it, to be understanding. I even thought maybe it was just stress, hormones, something temporary. I cooked dinner a few nights to ease her load. Took Lorena to school. Ran errands. Washed the dishes without being asked. Nothing changed. One Thursday evening, I came home early. I had finished an installation in Barro El Dorado earlier than expected. I stopped by a local market and bought steaks. Priscilla always liked when I made churrasco, so I thought I'd surprise her. I even bought her favorite soda, Guarana. When I got home, she was in the kitchen, scrolling her phone and eating cookies. "Hey, babe," I said, kissing her on the cheek. "Guess what I got for us tonight?" She didn't even look up. "I'm tired, Renato. Don't start with one of your things, okay?" One of my things? That hit me like a cold bucket of water. Still, I kept calm. I bought steak. Figured we could eat together. You and me. Lorena's with your mom, right? She sighed. A long, irritated sigh. The kind you'd give a telemarketer, not your husband. "Why do you always want something? Can't I have one moment of peace without you needing a hug, a conversation, dinner together, or sex?" Now that stopped me. I didn't say anything about sex, Priscilla. I just wanted to eat with my wife. That's when she exploded. "I don't want a hug, Renato. I don't want your touch, your voice, nothing. You're suffocating me." It echoed through the house. And Lorena, our 5-year-old, was standing by the hallway door holding her plush bunny. Her eyes were wide. She didn't understand the words, but she felt the storm. I looked at my daughter first, then at the woman I married, and I realized something awful. This wasn't just about the hug. This had been building for months, maybe longer. I just refused to see it. Priscilla didn't apologize. She didn't take a breath and say, "I'm sorry, I didn't mean it." She just walked out of the kitchen, still holding her phone, and slammed the door to the bedroom. I stood there, didn't say a word. The smell of raw steak filled the air. I left the meat on the counter, turned off the stove, and walked outside. I sat on the front steps of our house in Barro Tropical, staring at the street. The sun was going down, that pink-orange hue bleeding across the sky. A dog barked in the distance. A bus rolled by, and I thought, you work, you pay bills, you give love. And somehow, that turns into suffocating someone. My neighbor SCU Davi passed by with his dog and waved. I nodded back. He had no idea my world had just shifted, but I felt it. Deep. Something had broken inside. Not in a destructive way, in a final way. I didn't sleep that night. I lay on the couch in the living room while she stayed locked in the bedroom. No explanation. No remorse. Just silence. I thought about all the things I'd given up. Soccer nights with my cousins, trips, my dream of opening a repair shop downtown. Because I wanted to be present, be a family man. She used to say, "You're my safe place." Now she couldn't stand my presence. I got up at 4:30 a.m., took a long shower, got dressed, and made coffee. Then I packed Lorena's backpack, made her a quick sandwich for school, and waited for Priscilla to come out of the room. She didn't, so I left a note. I'm taking Lorena to school. Don't worry. On the way to school, Lorena asked, Daddy, why was Mommy yelling? I looked at her in the rearview mirror. Her little eyes, filled with curiosity and sadness. I just said, sometimes people forget how to be kind. But you don't have to worry, okay? She nodded. After dropping her off, I didn't go to work. I called in and said I needed the day off. No explanation. Then I drove straight to the Cartorio no Barreiro, walked in, and asked for information about legal separation, child custody, and alimony rights under Brazilian family law. The woman behind the desk was professional. Asked if I had legal representation. Not yet, I said, but I will. That night, I came home and saw Priscilla on the couch. She didn't say anything. Not hi. Not how was your day. Just silence. I stood there looking at her, phone in hand, legs crossed, indifferent. And I thought, you screamed that you didn't want my hug. Tomorrow I'll show you I don't want to support you. I didn't need to scream back. I didn't need to throw anything or call her names. I just needed to remove myself from where I wasn't respected. That's what I was about to do. And this time, I wouldn't wait for her to change. When a man decides to leave quietly, it's not because he's weak. It's because he's already said everything in silence. That morning, I woke up before the sun. 5 o'clock sharp. My body had gotten used to the rhythm of early days and long hours. The only difference was, this time, I wasn't preparing for a day of climbing poles or fixing wires. I was preparing to set myself free. Priscilla was still asleep, or pretending to be. The door was shut, the lights off, not a sound inside. I didn't care. I boiled water, made coffee the way I liked it, strong and bitter, like the truth I had finally accepted. I packed Lorena's school bag with her pencil case, snack, and little pink notebook that she loved to show her teacher. I brushed her hair, tied it up in a ponytail, and kissed her forehead. On the way to school, she hummed a little melody. No tension, no sadness. Just a normal Tuesday morning for her. For me, it was the beginning of something final. Once I dropped her off at the municipal preschool in Riacho, I didn't head to work like I usually would. I drove straight to the Cartorio do Barreiro, a place I'd passed 1,000 times but never thought I'd need for something like this. I parked, walked in with a folder under my arm, and asked to speak with someone about separation of bodies, shared custody, and legal responsibilities. The lady behind the glass looked at me with professional neutrality. She handed me a few documents, explained that under Brazilian law, I had the right to file for separqueo de corpos, and if I could prove emotional abandonment or disrespect, I could initiate the division of assets and request custody discussions even before divorce proceedings. I listened carefully, asked the right questions, and took mental notes. When she finished, I thanked her, walked out, and sat in the car for 10 minutes without turning the ignition. And I thought, she said she didn't want my hug. I say I don't want to support someone who treats me like a burden. That wasn't revenge. It was self-respect. That afternoon, I picked up Lorena, fed her, helped her take a nap, and then sat at the kitchen table with the printed legal documents from the notary. I didn't want to fight. I just wanted out, but out with my dignity. Around 6:30 p.m., Priscilla walked in from the street, holding a bag of pão de queijo. She looked surprised to see me, sitting calmly at the table. You didn't go to work? She asked, avoiding eye contact. No. She put the bag on the counter. You're not going to say anything about yesterday. I shook my head. No yelling. No guilt tripping. I just want to talk. Sit down. She hesitated, then pulled out the chair across from me. What is this? She said, looking at the papers. It's what comes after your words, I said. Her eyes narrowed. What words? You said you didn't want my hug. That I suffocate you. That my presence bothers you. She rolled her eyes. I was upset. You were pressuring me. I was trying to hold my wife. That's not pressure. That's marriage. She said nothing. So here's what's going to happen. I continued. I spoke to a lawyer. I've filed for legal separation. I'm requesting shared custody of Lorena. You'll stay here for now, but the support structure changes starting today. She blinked. I've already removed your name from my Caixa account. You'll receive a monthly amount to help with Lorena. Nothing more. I won't pay for your personal expenses, cosmetics, your mother's Wi-Fi plan, or your Uber rides to the hair salon. I'm not your provider anymore. She stared at me, stunned. Are you serious? As serious as your silence every night. As serious as the way you look at me like I'm a stranger in my own home. She shook her head, half laughing now, defensive. You're overreacting. Couples fight. That's normal. Not when it becomes your identity, I said. You don't hug me. You don't talk to me. You don't thank me for what I do. You treat me like an obligation. I'm done pretending this is normal. That night, I slept in Lorena's room while she stayed in the master bedroom. The roles had reversed. She looked like the one who had been caught doing something wrong, and I was the one walking tall. She tried talking to me the next morning, made me breakfast, said good morning, even asked about my work schedule. I answered politely, but I didn't play along. I was no longer the man trying to fix the marriage. I was the man extracting himself from a place where he was no longer respected. Within a week, I had moved out, found a small apartment in Nova Suica, Belo Horizonte, through an old client who had just finished renovating. Clean, quiet, 2 bedrooms, close to my job and to Lorena's school. I took the basics, clothes, my work tools, and a mattress. I didn't want the couch, the TV, or the dishes. She could keep it all. I was building peace from scratch. Lorena started spending weekends with me. I made her Brigadeiro. We watched Pike Sonata on my laptop, and we laughed. The kind of laugh I hadn't heard in that old house in months. By the 3rd week, Priscilla began to crumble. She called one night crying, saying she didn't recognize me anymore. You've changed, she said. No, I replied. I just stopped accepting crumbs. You're punishing me. I'm freeing myself. She tried to bait me emotionally. Do you even care that our daughter is growing up in a broken home? I took a deep breath. Our home broke a long time ago. I just finally walked out the door. She didn't answer. She started calling more often, then texting, then sending voice messages late at night. One even said, I miss when you used to bring me lunch at work. I didn't realize what I had, but it was too late. This wasn't about anger. It wasn't about hurting her. It was about never going back. That's the beauty of doing things right. When you leave without hate, you don't carry bitterness. You carry clarity. I didn't block her number. I didn't insult her to others. I didn't post cryptic memes or play games. I simply removed my time, my money, and my presence. And in Brazil, that's louder than any argument. I gave her the gift of feeling my absence. And trust me, that emptiness hits harder than any scream. 2 months. That's how long it took for the dust to settle. Not in her life, but in mine. And honestly, that's all I needed. Not to move on to someone else, not to prove a point, but to remember who I was before being turned into a doormat. I wasn't bitter. I wasn't angry. But I also wasn't the same man who begged to be hugged in his own kitchen. That Renato was gone. The new me had learned something. When someone tells you they don't want your love, believe them the first time. After leaving that house in Barro Tropical, I moved into a modest but decent 2-bedroom apartment in Nova Suica, a middle-class neighborhood on the border between Canagem and Belo Horizonte. It wasn't fancy. The walls were plain, the kitchen tiny, but the silence in that place was peaceful, not heavy. For the first time in years, I could hear myself think without tiptoeing around someone else's moods. Work got better too. I was handling more freelance electronics gigs on top of my technician job. One of my old clients in Bucyrus recommended me to a company that installs solar panels. They brought me on as an outsourced technician for residential projects. The money was better. The respect was even better than that. I bought a used motorcycle, a 2016 CG 160 Titan. Not because I needed a flex. I just liked riding it up to Parque das Mangabiras on weekends when Lorena wasn't with me. Wind in my face, hills in the background, and peace in my chest. Lorena was adjusting well. She spent weekdays with Priscilla, but stayed with me every other weekend. Our bond grew stronger with each visit. I started cooking with her. She loved helping crack the eggs for our omelets in the morning. And when she hugged me now, it wasn't out of habit. It was out of love. Meanwhile, things weren't going so smoothly on Priscilla's end. Word around the family was that she had moved in with her sister in Barreiro temporarily after I moved out. She claimed she needed emotional space and time to reorganize herself. But in truth, reality was biting hard. She had no job. Her nursing degree was outdated. She'd never finished the final requirements. The few resumes she sent to clinics went unanswered. She had no income beyond the child support I paid directly to cover Lorena's school meals, clothes, and other needs. That money didn't stretch to pay for her Uber rides, her manicures, or her expensive shampoos anymore. No more me time. No more brunch with friends. No more woman yelling that she didn't want a hug while standing in a kitchen someone else paid for. She was now just another person in a tight apartment, depending on someone else to eat. I didn't gloat. I didn't even bring it up. I just kept living. Calm. Focused. Building my life again, brick by brick, without the emotional quicksand of our old marriage dragging me down. It was a Saturday afternoon when she came. Lorena had just left with her aunt after spending the weekend with me. I was cleaning the living room, wearing a faded Atletico Mineiro shirt and gym shorts, when the intercom rang. "Oi, Renato, it's me." I knew the voice immediately. She didn't wait for permission. She buzzed herself in, came up, and knocked. I opened the door, and there she was, standing in jeans and an old hoodie, holding Lorena's notebook in her hand as an excuse. "She forgot this," she said softly. I nodded. "Okay." But she didn't leave. She looked around the apartment. Simple, neat, smelled of lavender floor cleaner and fresh coffee. She looked at me like she barely recognized the man in front of her. "You've lost weight," she said. "I'm eating better now," I replied without a smile. There was a long silence. "I wanted to talk," she continued, stepping in slowly. I didn't invite her, but I also didn't block her. She sat on the edge of the couch like she didn't belong there. Because she didn't. Then it came, the sentence I knew was coming. "I miss us." I stood there, arms crossed. Let her speak. She had rehearsed it. I could see it in her posture. "I didn't mean what I said that night," she said. "I was under pressure. Stressed. I thought you were crowding me, but I realize now you were just trying to hold something that was already slipping through my fingers." I didn't say a word. Just let her twist in her own honesty. "I felt so alone," she added. "The world's not easy without you. You did everything. I see that now." She looked at me with glossy eyes. The same woman who once told me she didn't want to be touched was now blinking away tears, sitting on a couch I paid for, in a house I built from scratch. Then she said it. "I made a mistake. I know I did. But maybe we can try again. For Lorena." That's when I spoke. Calm, firm, but final. "You know, Priscilla, there was a time I would have given anything to hear those words." She looked hopeful. "But that time passed the moment you looked me in the eyes and said you didn't want to be close to me. That wasn't stress. That was truth. You just weren't ready for the consequences." She started to speak, but I raised my hand. "I don't hate you. I'm not even mad. I just don't trust you anymore. Not with my peace, not with my heart, and definitely not with my presence." She dropped her head. "I won't stop you from being Lorena's mom. I'll never speak badly of you to her. But I'm not coming back to you. That chapter is over." She wiped her face. "But don't you think people deserve second chances?" "They do. But only when the apology comes before the damage is done, not after the consequences hit." She stood up. Her face was red now. She held the notebook to her chest like it was armor. "I guess I needed to lose you to see what I had. And I needed to lose you to see what I was missing." She left without another word. That night, I sat on my small balcony with a cold beer in one hand and Lorena's crayon drawing in the other. It was a stick-figure family, me, her, and our dog that died last year. She hadn't drawn her mother in it. I didn't read into it. Kids draw what they feel. And I felt at peace. Not because I won, not because she came crawling back, but because I didn't. I stayed on my feet. I walked out with my head held high. And when she tried to return, I didn't slam the door at her face. I just let her know it would never open the same way again. The best part? I didn't scream. I didn't insult. I didn't beg. I just lived so well, she had no choice but to regret everything. And that's the kind of silence that says more than 1,000 speeches.